The CEO of Pfizer says a COVID booster shot will likely be required within a year of receiving your full vaccination, 2 doses. So this comes as Canada's procurement minister, Raywat Deonandan, says that Canada is looking to secure those booster shots for next year. Joining us this morning is Raywat Deonandan. He's an epidemiologist at the University of Ottawa. Great to have you back with us this morning.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, lots of questions on this front. Let's start with how a booster shot is different from a regular dose of the vaccine.
It's exactly the same shot. Like your the flu shot every year is just a little different. But right now you have your prime shot and your booster shot of the COVID vaccine. It's just a third booster shot. However, it might be different in that it might be targeted to a new set of variants. It's possible that the next series of COVID vaccines will be what we call multivalent vaccines, meaning they contain elements of the existing primary COVID classic virus, as well as elements of various variants, like we see in the flu shot every year. It's multivalent. So it'll be pretty much essentially the same, just better targeted towards what is circulating at the time.
And will we need 2 doses of the booster or just 1?
Probably just 1. So at this point, if you've already had 1 or 2 shots of an existing vaccine, your system is already primed to receive a boost. So this just means getting a shot probably once a year to accommodate whatever new variants are circulating at that time and to make sure your body has sufficient immunity lasting another few months.
Okay, well, this is where things get a little tricky with the timeline and the way the vaccination rollout is currently happening in Canada. If you've had a shot and haven't had your second shot, and then it is time to get the boosters for some people in Canada, could a booster replace your second shot?
Absolutely, you could. It's exactly the same thing. It's just targeted to a different set of viruses, the more prevalent viruses. In fact, it probably will be more efficacious because it's more better matched to the threat that exists.
One more timeline question for you. The way that things are looking right now, there has been some delays, as we know. So there are people, however, who have already received a double dose. If we're looking at between 6 to 12 months for them to need a booster, they're going to start needing boosters at the same time that some people haven't had either their first or their second shot here in Canada. That could potentially be a crunch.
It would be an administrative challenge. It's not a scientific challenge. Now, what we've seen so far is we haven't tackled administrative challenges that well in our country, but I think we're up to it. It's a matter of simply organizing better. But it's in everyone's best interest that we get as much immunity into as many people as possible. So I would prefer that we focus on getting a first shot into more people before we worry so much about boosting the existing people.
Interesting. When will we know if we need regular COVID shots, like we do the flu, for example?
It's looking pretty likely that we will, and that's driven by 2 factors. One is the extent to which immunity wanes after our initial vaccination, and it looks like it wanes probably lasts at least 6 months, probably a year. And the second is how prevalent the new variants are going to be, and it looks like new variants will continue to be a threat, at least for the next few years, probably emerging every year or so. So it is likely
new variants are going to be a concern for the next few years, you said.
Well, so long as the disease is percolating somewhere with high effectiveness, like places like Brazil or India, then it remains a threat to the entire species. So variants emerge when there is a large population that is infected. And until the entire globe gets this pandemic in order, then the threat of variants emerging is always real. So I'm anticipating until we get enough vaccine distributed across the entire planet, that variants will continue to emerge. And that's the case, we'll have to be on the lookout for boosters pretty much every year, like the flu shot, but not interminably, probably lasting a few years until the disease becomes endemic and mutates into something a little less scary.
Last question, again, this is back to that timeline. The National Advisory Council on Immunization says it's okay to delay the second dose of the vaccine up to 4 months. So again, that means people who just got their first or second shot, not fully vaccinated until the summer. So when that time comes, and you mentioned an administrative challenge, will we need to prioritize the second shots over the booster? Because the booster populations will be those who are most at risk the first time around, so those in long-term care homes and those frontline workers.
That's a really difficult question. I can't really answer it because it depends on how long the first shot will have lasted. We don't know the answer to that question. We think right now that 4 months is reasonable. Anything more than that, there isn't a whole lot of data to go by. It strikes me it makes more sense conservatively to make sure that everyone gets that second shot on schedule now being 4 months before we compromise their immunity further, unless we have to restart from scratch, which is always a possibility, by the way. If the virus mutates in such a direction that all the vaccines are no longer applicable to the circulating strains, we may have to inoculate everyone from scratch. But it seems unlikely. It looks like we're just going to keep on.
Keep going, Doctor.
Sorry. It looks like we're just going to keep on inoculating on a rolling basis until we get, again, sufficient immunity in enough people to keep the disease at bay. That's the goal here, to ensure we have population-level immunity.
When you look at the modeling numbers that are expected to come out today, which are shocking to learn about, we're looking at upwards of 12,000 new cases a day, and you look at the vaccination and then looking ahead to spring and summer and needing second doses and boosters, is there anything that stands out to you as a concern? What are you watching for?
Oh, we have to really vaccinate quickly, which means getting enough shots, and also means slowing down transmission so that we buy time to get enough shots, right? So the longer we take to vaccinate people and the longer we take to get this in check, the higher likelihood we have of having one of these scary new variants like P1 become dominant, in which case our system becomes overwhelmed, and the higher risk we have of enduring a fourth wave, which is always in the cards right now. Right now we have a window of opportunity to prevent that fourth wave and to crush this thing so that we enter the ramp to normal this summer.
Doctor, would it be helpful to remove priority lists and just say whoever is available to go get vaccinated, go get vaccinated? Would that help?
That will be the case eventually. Right now, that's not particularly useful because we are in a crisis mode where certain populations have to go to work and to keep the system running. Essential workers, obviously. So we need to harden that population so the entire system doesn't collapse and we avoid a lot of suffering. But eventually, when the wave is mostly over and when people are more relaxed, then yes, it will be like a flu vaccine. Go get it when you can, as quickly as you can, anybody.
In these times of changing numbers and concern, it is always very calming to speak with you, Dr. Deonandan. You always give us the straight facts, and we appreciate it so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.